When my stepson embraced the world of art, I found myself stepping into the role of his muse through the simple act of posing for him. Throughout my life, people have recognized my beauty. Nonetheless, I never sought to take advantage of it for my own gain. In my younger days, I dreamed of becoming a model. Yet that desire faded with the entrance of Marco into my world. He expressed that they do not need the funds, therefore he prefers that you do not move forward with it. In that moment, his decision transformed into my own. At 42, I find myself living in the abode of the man who transformed the course of my existence, sharing space with his child from a previous union. Nico, at the age of 23, has recently concluded his academic journey, focusing on the realms of photography and visual arts. He has made his way back home now. The space he occupies is situated on the upper level of the duplex. It serves as his sanctuary for creativity. He crafts portraits, concerning the dynamics between women and men, any person indeed. Young girls often come and go, striking poses for his creations. At first, I thought it was merely about his passion for art. Yet, everything changed the moment I accidentally left his door slightly open. Who could have foreseen that a simple portrait sketch would lead to such an outcome? I will recount how that singular night with Nico transformed into something far beyond just offering him assistance. I understand that this may invite your criticism, yet I find myself unable to keep it hidden any longer. On that morning, Marco took his leave from the residence. I climbed the stairs and there was a slight gap in Nico's door. Entering was never part of my plan. As I strolled past, I caught a fleeting glimpse of the canvas within. What I beheld brought me to an immediate standstill. It was a reflection of myself. Yet, what troubled me even more was the large photograph mounted on the neighboring wall. It was an image I had posted on social media many years ago. Every line etched upon my face, the depth of my stare, and the emotions I experienced in that instant were captured within his creation. Little did I know that Nico had been watching me with such keen interest. Upon the revelation that he had downloaded my photograph and transformed it into a printed portrait, one might expect that it would evoke a sense of fear within me, wouldn't it? Yet it did not. I remained still at the threshold for a brief moment. My heart raced and a wave of exhilaration, accompanied by an ineffable feeling, enveloped me. The portrayal of my essence in that painting was unmistakable. Stronger and more resilient, more captivating. Nico had portrayed me as more significant than I believed myself to be. My hands trembled as they brushed against the edge of the doorframe. I found myself unable to stay there any longer. With quiet determination, I turned and made my way down the stairs. As I made my way to the kitchen, my footsteps echoed softly, but my heart raced with an intensity that refused to subside. The image of that painting remained etched in my mind. I assumed it would simply be yet another piece of art. Yet I found myself in error. I never expected that moment would come to fruition. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications for more stories like this one. I am certain that after experiencing this story in full, you will be inspired to share your thoughts. Ever since Nico came back home, an unmistakable spark has ignited between us. A mysterious occurrence beyond comprehension. At first glance, all seemed unremarkable, even reassuring. Yet, I noticed the slow retreat of Nico as time passed. He started to spend more and more time upstairs, secluded in his room, toiling for long stretches. His door was usually secured, yet the other day, it stood slightly open for a fleeting moment. That moment is forever imprinted in my mind. He had portrayed me. He took one of my photographs from social media and transformed it onto his canvas. Every brushstroke appeared to reveal a facet of my identity. He was not just applying paint to my face, he was bringing light to my very essence. As I gazed upon that painting, a stirring feeling awakened deep within me. Nevertheless, I found myself at a loss for words when it came to discussing the issue with Nico. The next day, raucous sounds emanating from the upper floor captured my interest. A girl was shouting, her voice sharp and filled with rage. Before I could fully grasp the unfolding scene, the door to Nico's room swung open with a sudden force, and the girl stepped out in a hurried manner. Her face burned with fury, tears streaming down her cheeks as she hurried past me in the corridor. My heart raced with fervor. Should I make my way up the stairs? I wavered, torn between the choice of staying detached and delving into the unfolding events. In the end, I found myself unable to hold back. I stood before Nico's door. I tapped softly. "Nico?" I uttered my words, a hint of hesitation in my voice. A sigh seemed to escape from deep within. "Enter," he said, his voice heavy with fatigue and vulnerability. I opened the door and stepped inside. In the heart of the room he stood, his eyes fixed upon the canvas before him. The piece of art lingered in a state of incompleteness. The colors and details were exquisite. However, the overall composition seemed to lack a sense of completion. "What is happening?" I asked, struggling to hide the unease in my voice. Nico lowered his gaze and slowly pivoted to face me. His eyes reflected a profound sense of helplessness. "That portrait," he observed, his voice tinged with a hint of resignation. "I successfully obtained a contract for it, a noteworthy endeavor. The client sought a portrait capturing the essence of a poised, powerful, and alluring woman. A considerable amount of money was proposed. Yet, it goes beyond simple monetary concerns, Judith. This defines my standing. This initiative holds the promise of propelling my career forward. Yet, as I endeavored to craft the portrait of that girl, I came to realize that it was destined to falter. He would have found it unappreciated. I would have let him down." His voice quivered. "What comes next?" "I must present a fresh creation by tomorrow. It is of the highest significance." As his words reached my ears, a surge of adrenaline coursed through me. His eyes locked onto mine, silently pleading without the need for words. In that moment, I reflected on the artwork I had encountered not long ago, and the way Nico was looking at me now. "Nico, what is it that you seek from me?" I expressed, my voice trembling. He swallowed hard, then took a deep breath. "Judith, I long to capture your essence. You represent the very essence of power, grace, and allure." I hesitated for a brief moment, unsure of how to reply. "Is that accurate?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Nico drew near, his eyes filled with a blend of determination and respect. "Judith, you might not realize it, but it is indeed you. Within you lies a beauty, an elegance, and a strength that is truly remarkable. I seek your help to bring this to completion. I find myself pressed for time and in need of your help. Should you agree, we may advance quietly together." A part of me was fervently insisting that I ought to refuse without delay. Yet, another facet was enthralled by Nico's remarks. The tenderness in his eyes, the earnestness in his voice. The painting I beheld lingered in my thoughts, refusing to fade from my mind. The way he saw me and the feelings it stirred inside me. "Nico, are you absolutely sure?" I asked, locking eyes with him. He declared with steadfast certainty, his tone quiet yet resolute. "This is not just a painting, Judith. It holds the power to change everything." A pause ensued. My heart raced with fervor. As I pondered the suitability of my choices, my eyes were drawn to the piece of clothing that Nico clutched in his hands. The garment was a black silk dress, clinging intimately to the contours of the body. It revealed the shoulders, flowing elegantly to disclose a suitable amount of leg. "That seems rather excessive," I observed, letting out a faint, nervous laugh. Nico took another step forward, his eyes radiating warmth and steadfastness. "It will look flawless on you. My only desire is to behold you once more. At your best. Trust in my abilities, Judith." With a deep breath, I filled my lungs. My hesitation slowly faded away, influenced by Nico's heartfelt words. I tilted my head ever so slightly, continuing with the assignment. Nico wore a smile. The genuine, inviting smile eased all my worries. In that moment, we began to embrace our eagerness for the onset of night. Yet, I intuitively recognized that this would go beyond simple artistry. This evening appeared ready to change everything for the two of us. Upon Marco's return home, I made it my mission to ensure that everything seemed perfectly ordinary. I sat in silence during supper, while Nico carried on as though everything was perfectly normal. Yet, each time our eyes met, even for a fleeting moment, the unspoken tension between us hung in the air, tangible and undeniable. Once I had verified that Marco had drifted into sleep, I took a deep breath. My heart quickened as I quietly climbed the stairs, making my way to Nico's room. With a sense of trepidation, I slowly pushed the door open. The room glowed with a soft, inviting light. Candles cast their gentle glow in every nook, enveloping the space in a soothing warmth. Gentle melodies floated through the air, enriching the warm ambience. Nico lingered in the shadows, cradling a bottle of wine in his hands. He raised his glass toward me. He welcomed, his voice steady yet infused with a unique warmth. I observed, taking in the layout of the room. It is remarkably crafted. This evening holds a certain significance, he noted, a subtle smile gracing his lips. Every detail must be impeccable for you. I struggled to swallow, but a faint smile crept onto my lips. In that moment, instead of questioning my choices, I opted to fully immerse myself in the now. Nico gestured toward the corner of the room. A designated area awaits your preparation, and your dress can be found over there. I yielded and made my way to the corner. From the edge of my sight, I noticed that Nico had turned his eyes away from me. The small act eased a portion of my unease. I slipped into the dress and gazed at my reflection in the mirror. The black silk embraced my form with exquisite precision. My shoulders lay bare, while the neckline gracefully highlighted the curve of my collarbone. "Nico, I am prepared," I declared. Yet my voice escaped as nothing more than a whisper. He turned, his eyes locking onto mine. They displayed a sense of admiration, not of an artistic nature for a subject, but rather the kind a man feels for a woman. "Superb," he expressed with intention, raising his glass yet again. "Can you take a seat in that chair?" I made my way to the chair he had pointed out. It exuded sophistication and evoked a sense of antiquity, carrying a charm that harmonized beautifully with the surroundings. As I settled into my seat, a rush of excitement intertwined with a twinge of nervousness coursed through me. Nico poured a glass of wine and offered it to me with a graceful gesture. "This evening calls for relaxation, and a glass of wine will surely help." I lifted the glass to my lips, our eyes meeting again in that fleeting moment. Text: I must refrain from excessive drinking, lest I become overly relaxed, I remarked with a gentle smile. Nico let out a soft laugh as he drew his chair nearer to the easel. "This is something you truly deserve. This evening is devoted solely to you. Your presence will complete this tableau." For a time, silence enveloped the space. The air was thick with tension as Nico's eyes flitted between me and the canvas, his brush moving with deliberate intent. I realized I should have turned my eyes away, yet I found myself unable to do it. I took a delicate sip of my wine, my gaze fixed upon him. "Isn't it quite a challenge to navigate in this way?" I asked, my voice a mixture of unease and friendliness. "Challenging," he commented with a soft laugh. "On the other hand, this moment resonates as the most genuine experience I have ever faced." He paused briefly, lowering his brush and locking his gaze with mine. "Judith, do you have any awareness of this? It goes beyond simple beauty. I have yet to meet a person who seamlessly combines elegance with resilience." His words left me utterly without words. "Nico, you are overstating things," I remarked. Yet, as the words escaped my lips, I felt their deep resonance within me. He maintained that he was not embellishing the truth. His eyes held steady on mine. "I feel truly privileged to celebrate this moment alongside someone of your exceptional stature. Crafting your essence goes beyond simple toil for me. This is a way to understand you better." At that moment, the atmosphere in the room thickened with an almost tangible tension. He took up his brush once more, though his pace had noticeably slowed. His eyes flitted back and forth between the canvas and myself. "The evening is just beginning," he said, a faint smile playing on his lips. "With the final stroke of this artwork, a transformation beyond reversal will unfold." As I savored another sip of my wine, the essence of his words began to unfold before me. This evening surpassed the simple endeavor of capturing likenesses. This night was fated to change us forever. As I settled into the chair, time slipped away from me entirely. Nico positioned himself before the canvas, every brushstroke capturing a piece of his soul. From time to time, he would pause and cast his gaze in my direction. Within his gaze, I perceived something beyond simple artistic admiration. It was the measure of a man's worth. With each sip of the wine, a deeper sense of relaxation enveloped me. Nico would take a moment to rest approximately every 30 minutes. In the early moments of the intermission, our conversation was limited to a handful of words. His gaze examined me closely, yet there remained a line he chose not to cross. As the second intermission approached, that distinction started to blur. I found it difficult to determine if it was the wine or the palpable tension that hung in the air between us. As he drew near and gently took my hand, I found myself frozen in place. "Judith, you radiate elegance." His voice carried a warmth and softness that enveloped those who listened. I stood still for a moment, letting the feeling of his fingers entwined with mine seep into my consciousness. It was in the midst of the third intermission that the line separating us almost dissolved. Nico reached out, gently tucking a wayward strand of hair that had slipped over my shoulder. For a fleeting moment my breath caught in my throat. "Judith," he declared, his eyes locked onto mine. "This painting might fall short of truly reflecting your grandeur, yet I will strive to convey it nonetheless." The connection in those words brought us closer with every moment that passed. Yet, we managed to stay on the edge without fully crossing that boundary. 3 hours had passed by the end of the night. Nico finished his final stroke with the brush and leaned back, setting it down with a deep sigh. "It is finished," he declared, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Are you ready?" I stood, finishing the last drop of my wine. Though I was slightly intoxicated, my thoughts remained clear. I drew closer to him, my heart racing in my chest. As I gazed upon the painting, I found myself momentarily breathless. "This," I noted, my eyes firmly fixed on the artwork before me. "This is truly exceptional, Nico." The figure depicted in the image was none other than myself. Nico had not only limited my physical presence, he had grasped a deeper significance. The emotions mirrored in my gaze, the grace of my stance, and the power I had not realized I held within. All elements were vividly displayed upon the canvas. Nico turned to face me. "Judith, you are truly exceptional. This transcends a simple portrayal of you. It is you, the essence of your beauty, the depth of your strength, and everything that defines your being." At that moment, I found myself unable to manage my emotions. I drew near and wrapped my arms around his neck. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice trembling. The embrace began innocently enough. Yet, as Nico wrapped his arms around my waist and drew closer to my face, something shifted inside me. It felt as if every obstacle that once stood between us had dissolved into nothingness. As our breaths intertwined, the flickering candlelight cast an eerie glow, transforming the room into a realm of the uncanny. I started a conversation with Nico, yet the words faded away. In that fleeting instant, I became acutely aware that his lips hovered tantalizingly close to mine, and it felt as if retreat was no longer an option. He came closer, calling me Judith. His eyes locked onto mine, his words rich with feeling and depth. "I have a message that I need to share with you. It has become impossible for me to hold it in any longer." He paused for a moment, drawing in a deep breath. "My feelings for you run deep, transcending the bounds of simple infatuation. For quite some time now, I have been harboring these feelings for you. I have tried to hide it, yet I find myself unable to succeed." His words filled the space, washing over me like a wave of warmth. My heart pounded and my thoughts spun in a chaotic dance. "Nico, we are here in this moment," I whispered softly. In that moment, I uncovered a deeper understanding. My attraction to him had become undeniable. Nico pressed onward. We stood merely a breath away, his hands gently finding their way to my waist. "From the moment we first met, I have viewed you in this light. Judith, it is essential for you to grasp that." As he finished his words, he slowly leaned in, and our lips softly met. For a fleeting moment my breath caught in my throat. The heat of his kiss and the caress of his hands melted away all barriers that once stood between us. As the kiss came to an end, he locked his gaze with mine for a fleeting moment. Yet that gaze held no questions, it served as a reply. At that moment, turning back was not a possibility. I took hold of the straps of my dress, slowly easing them down from my shoulders. The silk fabric flowed gracefully over my form, pooling softly at my feet. The soft glow of the candlelight danced around the room, casting a warm light upon my bare skin. I noticed the admiration in Nico's eyes grow stronger. He chose to remain silent. At that moment, words were superfluous. His hands gently wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer to the spacious couch. As dusk fell, a remarkable change enveloped the scene. The bond that tied us together, the closeness we shared, could no longer be ignored. I sank into the couch, my heart pounding and my breath coming in uneven gasps. Nico looked deeply into my eyes, his expression softening into a warm smile. He shed his garments and cast them aside, landing them next to my own attire. Every barrier that once stood between us has completely dissolved. He leaned in closer, his hands gently resting on my waist. As his lips brushed against my neck in a fervent kiss, a shiver ran through me, igniting every nerve in my body. The tremor was not merely a consequence of his touch. It began with a deep feeling that I had not felt in quite some time, stirring to life within me. His lips slowly moved from my neck to my shoulder, sparking a fire of desire I had never felt before. My hands swiftly found their way to his back. I could feel the tension in his muscles and the warmth radiating from his form. Nico's breath lingered on my skin, and with every caress, he pulled me closer into his orbit. "Judith," he murmured, his voice soft and heavy with emotion, "you exceed my wildest dreams of beauty." As a result, everything hastened forward. As I looked at him, I sensed the genuineness in his words. Yet, his unwavering actions shifted my focus away from emotions, leading me into an entirely different realm of experience. A boundless, unstoppable joy. His lips met mine again, this time with a heightened intensity and profound depth. My fingers wove through his hair, the intensity of the moment erasing every thought that lingered in my mind. I held the couch cover tightly with my other hand. I sought to uphold my quietude. In that moment I tried to pry my eyes open, yet my body had taken the reins. My muscles tightened, and with every touch, it felt as if currents of electricity coursed through my body. Nico's kisses cascaded down, exploring the contours of my neck. His hands glided over my skin, bestowing a warmth that seeped deep into my being. I yielded completely to him, my thoughts consumed by the fervor of the moment. He towered over me, his eyes filled with a mixture of wonder and intense desire. His breathing quickened, and his words trembled with an involuntary quiver. "Is this a dream, Judith?" he whispered softly. In that moment I tried to pry my eyes open, yet it felt as though my body had taken the reins. My gaze fixed on the ceiling as my fingers gripped the blanket with growing intensity. Nico drew nearer, his face mere inches from mine. His lips brushed against my ear as he spoke. "Judith, you are the reason behind my emotions. I never imagined you like this yet." His breathing was faint and erratic. "Your authenticity surpasses all else." In the aftermath, he continued to press on. I trembled with intensity, haunted by the dread of completely unraveling. In the end, Nico let go of his inhibitions. This was reality, not a figment of imagination. This was a reality I had been unknowingly awaiting for a prolonged duration. I wish to convey this thought. The story does not end here. Stay vigilant. Having arrived at this juncture, I recognize that my tale has deeply resonated with you. There is much more to express, and you will not want to miss a single detail. Be sure to click the follow button, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts about this story.